And we are back with another Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25. This is the show devoted to St. Mary's University and our athletic programs. I'm Dean Beckman, joined once again by our Sports Information Director, Donnie Netto. Donnie, today we're going to be focusing on softball. We have the head coach with us, Jen Miller. A little bit later, the shortstop for Jen's team, Brittney Birkhauser. But Donnie, you and I at St. Mary's, from an employment standpoint, have 40 plus years combined, right?
That's right.
This is, I think, the strangest spring we have seen in those 40 plus combined years.
Question.
It's just been a crazy spring year to get in all of the spring sports. Softball, of course, but also baseball, track and field. Everything's kind of a mess right now.
Yeah, I think that I've talked to a lot of people, and one of the things that I've always told them is, you know, we always deal with baseball and softball rescheduling usually because of rain. We've had a few years where we've had some snowstorms in there, but this is the first year where it's affecting all of the sports. You've got track having events canceled. You've got our spring golf tournaments are being canceled, and then softball and baseball getting canceled because of snow, not because of rain. And so it's been an absolutely crazy spring so far.
Right.
I really feel for Jen and Nick because what they have to do to try and get a schedule together that will last for 2 days is just unbelievable.
Tough. Jen, sympathy from Donnie. That doesn't come easy.
Doesn't come often, so I'll take it where I can get it.
Now, somehow you've managed to scrap together about a dozen games since your return from the spring trip to Florida.
Yep.
So tell us how you've been able to do that. You've had to patch some things together.
Sure.
Right?
We were able to play 2 doubleheaders actually outside before the second round of snow came, and now we've been able to play a bunch of doubleheaders in the Rochester Dome, which we will be there for our next 3 doubleheaders as of right now, and then hopefully next week maybe get outside depending on the forecast.
Sure. Now, a lot of our viewers have not been to the Rochester Dome, so describe what playing there is like. What's the facility like inside there?
So it's our RCTC Dome. Inside, I mean, 5 balls can hit the roof, which we have to play, which are automatic outs if they're in fair territory. So the turf plays pretty fast. So it's, I mean, it's warm. It's a little bit warmer than outside,
Yes,
so that's good.
And there's no snow on there.
No snow. So
is it artificial turf?
Artificial
field turf?
Yep, artificial turf, and then basically you rent out so many hours, and you have to get your games in that. So hopefully we don't go in extras or anything like that. So it's been a good thing to have in our back pocket. We've gotten caught up on all of our games, which some other universities in our league have not been able to do so due to dome availability. So we've been pretty lucky that way. I've gotten on the horn pretty quick, looking at weather forecasts and reserving some time.
Right. Now, you haven't had to play at too unusual of times, right, to be able to get them in the dome. Have they been pretty much standard times for the most part?
Well, we've played 2, I believe 2 now at 7:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. So those are kind of a little bit early getting on the bus.
It really alters things.
Yep.
Yeah.
The next 3 that we'll have will be at the normal times. I've been able to reserve the domes at the times that we would normally play.
How about from a strategy standpoint? How does that impact for you as a coach and then the players? And we can ask Brittney that a little bit later too.
For strategy, I think you're still going in looking for good pitches to hit. Hopefully you're pitching well, hitting the ball well, and playing good defense. We have a couple different rules of the dome, so it's kind of a little bit of backyard stickball rules, but we're trying to keep it as close to the actual game rules as possible. So other than that, I mean, you're still going out looking for the right pitches to hit and hopefully playing some good defense and throwing some good pitches.
Donnie, I don't know how you played backyard ball, but we used to throw the ball at the player to get him out. You can't do that, right?
If we get later in the season when we're behind games, we might have to do those rules by the end of the year.
Everything goes.
Yeah.
As you prepare for these games now, as you said, now Thursday's games against McAllister will be inside, as will this weekend. Are there ways that you can try and prepare, I guess especially defensively, because offensively the pitcher's still going to throw the ball the same way, but defensively playing on the turf, it's a completely different than playing in the dirt. Are you able to prepare a little bit for those games because you know they're going to be inside?
Sure. So we'll practice outside on our soccer pitch today, which is turf on our campus. Inside in the dome, you can play your infielders back a little bit. The ball travels a little bit faster. Just play a little bit different angles that way. So you can do that if you like. Just knowing you get truer hops, you're not really reading too much of the bad hops off the dirt. So you get a little bit truer hops on the infield turf playing in the dome. So a little bit that way. But other than that, it's pretty much the same game, just inside with a Slight rule changes.
You know, I know, I'm sure that, and I'm going to ask Brittney this when she's on, but I'm sure that you'd much rather be playing outside.
Sure.
But the fact that you're able to play, and as Dean said, you've gotten 12 games in since the spring trip. You look at baseball, they just played against St. Thomas yesterday. That was the first time they've really gotten to play in 2.5 weeks. Is it better for you being able to at least keep playing than it would be if you compare it to baseball where they're stuck waiting for Mother Nature to give them a window of ability?
Yep. We've been pretty lucky, which I told the team the other day. I said, hey, be happy we're playing. We have an opportunity to play. Let's get out and get a couple wins today because we do get to play. We're not stuck in the rack or Gostomski Fieldhouse. Practicing and waiting to see when we'll get to play again. So allowing us to keep seeing live at-bats, going out and playing and getting our games in, hopefully be prepared for playoffs if we make it.
Right, and I think, for people watching saying, well, why don't they just wait until it does warm up? The fact of the matter is, the calendar keeps churning, right? And the conference tournament is going to be when it's scheduled for. And so everybody's got to get their games in. Better to do it over a period of time rather than all crammed into a couple of weeks, right?
Because there's no possibility to move back to conference tournament because then they'd have to move back to the NCAA tournament and it all falls into place.
Right.
So if for some reason, if we don't get all of our games in before playoffs, we have to agree as coaches, how are we going to determine who's in playoffs? Is it a double elim? Is it a single elim? Is it everybody gets in? Is it only no playoffs and only the top team with the best record gets in? So different things could apply if we do not get all of our games in. So better chance, get all your games in and hopefully play playoffs the way it's supposed to be.
And let's talk about this year. You've gotten off to a decent start. I'm sure, as Brittney's going to attest to. You'd rather be have a few more wins in there.
Sure.
But talk a little bit about the season thus far. Hard to believe that really in 3 weeks you're going to be talking conference tournament. But do you like where you're at now? Do you like the way you guys are playing right now?
Yep. We talked as a team last night, and I said we have all the right people on the team. We just need to find a way to get some wins under our belt. So we're getting the people on the bases. We just need to find a way to score them. Pitchers are throwing pretty good on a consistent basis. Defense has overall been pretty good. So we're in a good spot. We're playing a lot of young talent. So we're looking to just put all the pieces together. We've been switching up our lineups, trying to figure out what the best options are and giving people opportunities.
I know every year you use the spring trip to Florida, sometimes Arizona. This year it was Florida, of course, to really get a better gauge for where the team is at, especially coming off of the late winter, early spring practices. What did you learn about this year's team down in Florida?
This year's team, we have a lot more depth than we had last year. So we brought in a bunch of talented athletes, and with all the returning athletes that we have, we've been able to, I think, put a good team together. Now it's just a matter of putting the pieces together and getting some wins. But I think we have the right personnel on the team, and we can get it done if we figure it out.
So now I want to put your senior shortstop on the hot seat here.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about Brittney and what she brings to this team. I know that she's got a great bat and is just an amazing person. But from your standpoint, talk a little bit about what she brings to this team.
Yep. So leadership. She's been a leader since she came in as a first year. We knew she was going to eventually be a leader as she got older, and she's really just given our first years and our returners just a solid person to look to. Hey, what are we doing in this situation? What should we be looking for? She goes in and works her butt off day in and day out, which is what you need if you're going to give 100% at practice, give 100% in games, and that's what we want, and that's what she's delivered. So she's been able to lead that team in that way, not just by her athletic ability, but by her work ethic in the classroom as well as on the field.
So Brittney, of course, is one of 5 seniors on the team, but you have more than twice as many freshmen on the team, right?
Yep.
And not a lot of juniors either.
Yep.
So as I looked at the roster, this is a really young team, isn't it?
Yep. So we went out and brought in a bunch of first years to come and play for us, knowing that we're graduating 5 and our sophomores and juniors don't have a ton of athletes in those, a ton of student athletes in there. So we went out and looked for, hey, we need some quality first years coming in, people who can put some innings up for us, and we have people sitting on the bench who are also good athletes that haven't got a ton of playing time yet. So we have a talented team by the looks of it. Hopefully we can put it together.
I really love the mix of where everybody is from, right? You've got Southeast Minnesota well covered. You have Minneapolis, Chicago well covered, a little bit of the Milwaukee area covered, and Colorado and other places in between. Is that by design, or how do you go about where you recruit from?
We go out and we're looking for athletes who wants to come and play. What's the right fit for St. Mary's? Would you fit in at St. Mary's with us? Would you fit well on our team? Sam Borowski does an awesome job. She's my assistant coach. She goes out and does a ton of recruiting for us. She's awesome at it. And she hits up every tournament she can, anytime she can, in Chicagoland, in Wisconsin, Minnesota, etc. So we're going out and just, it doesn't matter where you're from. If you're a good athlete and you want to come to St. Mary's and you're a good fit, we would love to have you, recruit you, and come play for us. So. By design, most people come from the tri-state area because of the snow and the weather we've been having, so it's tough to convince a student athlete from California to come and play ball in Minnesota.
Keep working on it.
Jen, does it help? And I know, especially with Sam just being a couple years out of the St. Mary's program, does it help as you're coaching these athletes? You know, you played here, you won a national championship at St. Mary's, Sam has played here, Nikki Peterson played here. Does it help as you're trying to explain to a Brittney or anybody, hey, this happened to us too? Are you able to utilize being a former player as you're coaching as well?
Yep, I'm using it a little less now. I'm getting a little older, so Sam has used it. But just, I mean, the work ethic doesn't change. So if you come in and you work hard at the skills that we're teaching, I think you can be a good athlete. So that hasn't changed since I've been an athlete. Some of the ways we teach skills and some of the different fundamentals have changed throughout the game since I've been a player. But having Sam as younger, being through it a little bit closer to knowing, she helps a lot with our student athletes, what classes they should take, etc. So she's a little bit closer and knowing that a little bit better than I do. But it's good to have people who have formerly played. So my other assistant, Melissa Constey, also played in the league at a school, which we will not name. So she has also won a national championship as well. So having those people on my staff is what I look for.
Real quick, how have you seen Sam grow as an assistant coach, right? Because it's tough when you first step into it, but no doubt she's learned a lot the last year or two. And what have you seen?
For her, the reason why I asked her to come back because when she was a student athlete, she was very organized, knew it, she worked hard, and as everyone could look, she didn't get a ton of playing time, but she was always a team player. So that's part of it as well. She did her job. She caught a little bit her senior year, but she knew what we were looking for, what we wanted, and she's highly organized. And now that I have 2 kids now, and some of my other job responsibility, that has proven. But
put some more on her now.
So she's taking it well. She does anything you ask of her, so that has helped. So she's grown not only as a player, but as an assistant coach, and she's working hard to hopefully be a head coach someday as well. So.
All right, Jen, we got to run here, but one last question. The conference season, most of it's still ahead for you.
Sure,
What do you have to do to be one of the top 4 teams in the conference?
I think we just, I mean, you got to do 3 things well. You got to hit well, you got to pitch well, and you got to play defense. And I think we can do all those. So I think if we do all those on a day in, day out basis, I think we'll be sitting pretty good.
All right, Jen Miller, thanks for being on the show today. And stay tuned. We'll have Brittney Birkhauser on the Cardinals Nest next here on HBC.
With our partnership with HBC, we were able to now be a smart gigabit community with US Ignite and the National Science Foundation. All their other partners are large metropolitan urban areas, Austin, Texas, San Francisco, Washington, DC. And because of the broadband connectivity provided by HBC, we are a community lead for this initiative where we're going to be able to bring next-gen technology and stay competitive in the 21st century economy.
Providing opportunities for residential and business customers, HBC is leadership in your community.
And we are back here on the Cardinals Nest on HBC, and today our focus is on the softball team. We just had Jen Miller in, the head coach, and now we bring in the shortstop, senior shortstop for St. Mary's, Brittney Birkhauser joins us. Brittney, welcome to the show, and before we get too much into this year's team and your play and what you hope to accomplish here in your senior year, this is the first time we've had you on the Cardinals Nest, so we have to make you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how you got started in the sport of softball.
So So I'm from Wisconsin Rapids, and I've been playing softball ever since I could remember. Basically, since I could walk, I had a ball in my hand, and I actually practiced a lot with my brother, so I've been playing it my whole life.
Yep, good. So, and are you better than your brother?
We go back and forth, you know.
Yeah.
How did you end up here? What was it that brought you to St. Mary's?
So I was actually at a camp in the summer, and coaches saw me, and we went back and forth for a while, and then I actually showed up on campus, and as soon as I met the team and got a feel for what campus was like, I was like, yep, this is for me, this is my new home. So I'm really glad that I decided to come here.
And you are an actuarial science major. You have to explain what that means to Donnie.
Yep, you did.
And what you hope to do with that in the future.
So actuarial science is basically math and business combined, and I've been fortunate enough to accept a position after graduation at a taste and nutrition company in Beloit, Wisconsin. So I'll be a demand planner there, and then hopefully take a few tests for the actuarial science program and eventually become one of those.
All right, good, excellent. So does that mean you pour over the stats, the softball stats all of the time? Because I did, Brittney, and I want to say you are a mere second on the team in at-bats. You are a mere second on the team in RBIs, but you are first in home runs and average at this point, right? You're batting almost 500 on the season so far, so you're obviously off to a great start. Now, obviously, I was joking when I say a mere second on the team, because obviously they're all great numbers, but do you pay much attention to stats, or do you just let them speak for themselves and worry about where the team is at?
I don't really look at the stats because it's just you go out and you play each and every day and you try and do your best, which is more important, and there's a focus more on the team aspect rather than the individual. Obviously, it helps if you're doing well individually because then people feed off of that, obviously, but it's more of a team game, so if we're all working together, getting the job done, that's more important.
Good. Can you talk a little bit, as we talked with Jen, about the craziness of this spring? You know, you've been through a few springs now. This is your fourth. You know that it's crazy here in the Midwest, but talk a little bit about how you guys have had to adjust this year. As I said, you've played 4 doubleheaders now in the dome. You're going to have 3 more in a dome. How do you do that as a player to make sure that you're at the top of your game when you would much rather be outside?
So this year has been a little bit unconventional, to say the least. Being in a dome is quite the different experience. Like Coach was saying before, that comes a little faster at you on the turf, but we've been lucky enough to actually practice outside on the soccer turf at school. But you still have to have that same mentality of wanting to play the game, showing up every day, giving it your all. And I think a big thing with that is bringing the energy every day, and just like you have to be fortunate enough that you are getting to be playing, so that's a big thing.
Being one of the 5 senior leaders, you have to sort of be in charge of bringing that energy, right? And showing the younger players how it's done. How do you go about doing that with the other seniors?
I think a big thing is that even if you have to show up in the early morning, like some of our games we had to play at 7:30 and 9:30, you have to, from the get-go, you have to be talking. You have to start getting other people involved, get them on the same boat, because if they're not ready, then the team's not ready. So you just have to keep getting everyone involved.
Dean asked Jen about the spring trip in terms of what she learned about the team. I know that for the players, a lot of times the spring trip is an important time to kind of bond as a team. Talk a little bit about the spring trip and what you learned about your teammates during that time.
There's a lot of potential on this team. We saw that from the beginning, and I think a big thing is learning how to communicate with your teammates. It's always a huge thing, and you get a little bit in the fall, you get to know them a little bit, but then once you go on the spring trip, you learn how everyone functions and how they interact, and I think that was a big thing, was like living with your teammates for a week. You understand how they're going to react to certain situations, or how you should approach them when something's maybe not going so well, or like congratulating them when things do go well. So that was very helpful.
Now, I know you're good friends with the other seniors on the team, so tell us a little bit about Jordan and Callie and Haley and the rest, and how your interaction with them and what they bring to the team and some of their attributes.
I've been blessed with 4 good teammates, sisters. I actually live with 3 of them, and then Allie's like our honorary roommate. So we've become pretty close over the years, and they also bring a lot to the team. Each one of us has our own different personality, and we bring something different to the team. So one of us is more honest than the other. Some of us bring the different competitive edge, and then there's like Jordan and Cal, they always bring the fun to it. They lighten the mood, things like that. So we each bring something different, but we balance each other out as well.
And I hate to ask this question because in 4 weeks, basically you're going to be walking across the stage getting your diploma. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully you're still playing and you won't be getting your diploma. But have you thought at all about your collegiate career is coming to a close? I mean, I'm sure it felt like just yesterday that you were a freshman here, kind of getting to know the team. But talk a little bit about that progression from your freshman year to now, a month away from graduating.
Freshman year, they tell you that your 4 years goes faster than you'd ever believe, and freshman year, you don't believe them at all. And then I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, oh, I only have like 3 weeks left, and it's sad to think about, but you think about all the memories that you've made, all the people you've interacted with, and just the relationships and the bonds that you've formed over the years, and then you get to play the game that you love. And I guess right now I'm just trying to take every moment that I have left and enjoy it, because it's over pretty soon.
How about as a player? How have you grown as a player during those 4 years?
Freshman year, I was pretty timid. I didn't really say anything. But as the years have gone on, I've become more vocal. And I think I learned from people in the past years, like how to be a leader and how to play the game. They've really helped me along the way, so I've tried to strive to be like they were to me.
As you heard us talk with Coach Miller, a lot of freshmen on the team this year, about 11 freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you seeing skills-wise from some of these younger athletes on the team?
They definitely have a lot of potential, and if they keep working day in and day out like they have been, there's a lot of success for them coming up.
We've talked a lot with a lot of people that have come on this show. Talk a little bit about the influence that Matt Sager has had on this team, because I know that strength and conditioning is such an important aspect of collegiate sports now, and I know you guys do your 6 a.m. workouts, and I'm sure you hate every one of them. But talk a little bit about Matt and what he brings to the St. Mary's softball team.
Matt brings a lot. He takes us to the next level. Just when you think that you've reached your potential or like you can't do anymore, Matt pushes you to the next level. He pushes you to work hard, not only when we're at workouts or whatever, but even outside. Like, you can never take a play off, you can never take anything off, and I think he really stresses that, and he helps us just get to that next level.
And while we're talking about coaches, what would we not know about Coach Miller and your assistant coach, Sam Borowski? What is it that the average person just watching might not realize? Put you on the spot a little bit.
Oh boy.
It doesn't help that she's sitting in the room right now.
Okay. Coaches like to have fun. I think people may not realize that Coach Miller has a few dance moves, and she'll pull them out every once in a while. Excellent. Sam thinks she has some, but the players kind of give her a hard time, so it's pretty entertaining to say.
Boy, I wish we had known that before, Donnie. We've got a nice little open space right in front of us here, but next year, I guess.
Britt, I do have a question, and I've had this comes up in a lot of senior salutes. We always let you guys kind of have your way, and rumor has it they're going to be like novel.
Really?
But so many people have said, I'm going to miss St. Mary's softball, but I won't miss form running. Can you talk a little bit about that? And is that going to be in your senior salute as well?
That was not in my senior salute, but yeah, form running isn't one of the things that people necessarily like to do, but it's one of the things that you have to do. So it's just one of those things that if you don't do it, you're not going to be ready. So it's just one of those little things that you may not like doing, but they're necessary.
You know, when Donnie and I run, we have no form whatsoever. It's just kind of a wild free-for-all.
You got that right.
Brittney, so how about advice for high school students who are looking at going to college and maybe they're getting recruited or maybe they're considering being a walk-on at college? What advice would you have for somebody who's graduating right now from high school and playing their spring ball right now?
I'd say enjoy the time that you have left in high school, but then also put yourself out there and don't be afraid to take the risk to go to different schools, figure out, and you need to find the place that's right for you. That's a big thing. And then once you get there, never take a play off, never take a play for granted, because you never know when that's going to be your last one.
Right, and I think too, when you look at colleges and college fit is always very important. Talk about the MIAC and the quality of competition just within the conference.
The MIAC is a very tough league. It's competitive, it's always competitive, and that was one of the things that I was looking for. You're never going to get an easy game ever, so it's really competitive, and if you have that drive, then I'd say just go for it.
All right. Donnie, any last questions?
I'm going to let her off the hook.
All right, we're going to let her off the hook. Okay, well, Brittney Birkhauser, thanks for being on the show. Good luck here the rest of the year. A lot of the conference games still ahead, so best wishes there, and good luck with graduation.
Thank you very much.
All right, whether you're on the stage or not, you're still going to get your diploma. I'm confident of that. So. All right, stay tuned here to HBC. Donnie and I will be right back to talk about the rest of St. Mary's spring sports. That's next on TV 25.
Elevate your TV experience with HBC. Record up to 6 programs simultaneously. Wireless set-top boxes, 350 hours of storage, in-home streaming, Alexa, Netflix, and more. Call 888-474-9995 to learn more or visit hbci.com/.
And we're here to wrap up this week's Cardinals Nest on HBC. And our focus has been on softball, but all of the other spring sports are at least trying to get some contests in. It hasn't been easy with the weather, but Donnie, baseball had to travel to Wisconsin to get in a home game, right, against St. Thomas. They finally did it here this past week.
Yeah, we were talking about Jen having to go to the RCTC Dome for all of her games, and baseball actually was supposed to open against at Max Mullock Field against St. Thomas, and they went to Mauston, Wisconsin to play. They did have a turf field, so they went over there and played. They lost the first game 10-3, but came back and won the second game 1-0. So really a very good split against a high-quality team in St. Thomas. And, we certainly got to tip our caps to Ryan Wolf. A complete game, 4-hit shutout for the sophomore, an outstanding performance. He set, career highs in innings pitched, in shutout, in 8 strikeouts in the game. So a great game by him. Justin Weinberg with a run-scoring double in the first inning, and then it was zeros the rest of the way. But really a big comeback after that 10-3 loss in the first game. And now they're going to be in a holding pattern according to the forecast for this weekend. They're supposed to have a couple of doubleheaders, one at Bethel and then back here against St. John's, and it doesn't look like those games are going to be played. So they're going to be back to how are we going to get these games in, because they don't have a dome that they can play in. So they're really struggling to get games in right now.
And as you mentioned earlier, it's the same for all of the other spring sports, track and field in the same boat, literally, with all of the rain coming. Yeah. But they're actually moving a track meet to Thursday when the forecast looks somewhat promising.
Yeah, they were supposed to go to Gustavus this weekend. That meet has already been canceled. So Coach Anderson, in his wise wisdom, has actually created an event at St. Mary's for Thursday, so they'll have about 7 teams that are going to come to St. Mary's and compete, which is good because the last meet they've competed in was the St. Mary's meet in late March. So they haven't competed in a couple weeks as well. So it's important that they get a meet in, get some marks in, because the MIC championships are closing in, and they've got to get some marks for that.
Right.
Fortunately, tennis is able to play because they've moved all their matches indoors. The women are at St. Catherine on Friday, and then they go to St. Olaf on Saturday, and they'll play indoors there as well. The men play at St. Olaf as well on Saturday, so at least they're getting their matches in. They're not having to worry about the weather, so good for Coach Hallberg and the 2 Cardinal teams.
All right, that's going to do it for this Cardinals Nest. Thanks for watching here on HBC.